Good afternoon. Happy Saturday, keepers of the cash. Gary B, the Casual Comic Guy here, and we are here with another Savage Saturday comic review, this time episode 70. And, as promised, the book we're reviewing this week is Merlin from Marvel Preview Presents issue number 22. And what a gorgeous cover by, one of my all-time favorite fantasy illustrators, and that's Earl Norem. What a beauty. So I'll let you soak in that cover for a minute. And then this is going to be a little bit longer one. There's a lot of story here and a lot of fun. And already got frogs in the throat, so what are we going to do? So, we're going to take a look at the frontispiece, right? Because they always have great frontispieces on here. And a great one by John Buscema and inks by Frank Giacoia. So, really beautiful. And then we're going to read a bit of the introduction because it has to do and pertains to John Buscema and what's special about this book. So, this is by Ralph Macchio, the editor of Marvel. And it says, let's talk a little about magic. Real magic. It was about a year ago, then Offset editor Rick Marshall and I were discussing ways to further unleash the awesome artistic talents of John Buscema. Now that our wondrous Weird World epic was reaching its conclusion, after bouncing some ideas back and forth, we finally agreed it might be best to ask Big John himself what project would most stimulate his creative juices. John's response? Camelot. It seems the old Blood and Guts Buscema, best known for his unequaled interpretation of Conan the Barbarian, is a longtime follower and collector of Hal Foster's highly detailed Prince Valiant newspaper strip. According to John, who's never been one to mute his artistic preferences in conversation, it was the only strip which, for him, truly lived and breathed. And he's always had a strong desire to try his highly capable hand at something in the medieval mold, which could challenge his penciling prowess as few things had before. So they gave their enthusiastic approval. John Buscema had in mind this story of a King Arthur tale, which included Merlin. And they assembled the talent. We had Tom Palmer doing beautiful inks to John Buscema's pencils in this. And also John Tartaglione. And then you have beautiful lettering and beautiful scripts by John Costanza. Just absolutely gorgeous work in this issue. And I think you'll agree once you're looking at it that it is a standout in the fantasy genre. Sorry, let's get those frogs out. So good. All right. So, our story begins with a regular day in court. Arthur's about to go on a hunt with the falcon. And he is just coming out to greet everyone. He's in the Kingly Gardens. So, really cool. Incredible opening page shot there. Beautiful spread. A lot of detail work. But, as they leave for the hunt, he's got his falcon Golden Wing leading them. But what happens is they come across a dehorsed knight. And Arthur, being the kind, gentle ruler that he is, and being that they're not at war with anyone, brings the knight back to be aided and taken care of. But Merlin has an ominous feeling about this knight. And he senses an evil present. But he can't express this to Arthur, who's already enamored with the lad. And feels a kinship as that of a father to the youth that he just found. So he dispatches a page to let Merlin know that he is needed. And then Merlin, having no other choice and fearing to actually discredit himself by doing something to somebody who may prove innocent in the long run, does what he does best, a little bit of magic and spell casting, and aids in healing the youth. Once he's there, he's and better, he's invited to the round table, where no man is greater than any other man. And He wants King Arthur is after introducing this guy whose name is Beliar, right? Beliar. So they're already telling you he's kind of evil. The name wasn't well thought out, but still, Beliar, son of Asmodear, a baron of the Netherlands, and Arthur bids him to tell his tale of how he ended up where he's at. And so his tale begins that his father sent him and his brother out on a hunt, their first hunt out by themselves. And being very competitive and wanting to outdo his brother, they were racing a stag down. His brother had the lead, and to his brother's misfortune, in his youthful exuberance to beat his brother, he loosed an arrow and his brother crossed in its path and he shot his brother dead. And he had to take his brother back to his father. And he goes on to explain that his father never blamed him, his father never yelled at him, but his father wasn't the same. And so he took it upon himself to exile himself. And this is the tale he's telling Arthur and the knights. And to only do good moving forward. And to only put himself in acts that might save other lives or that had a nobility about them. So he's traveling and he's telling them that he's fighting brigands and thieves and until he gets to the tale of something that proved a bit more different when he hits this one village, and they say a great beast is destroying their town and killing their people. He doesn't believe them. He thinks it's just hyperbole and just made up and a superstitious townfolk. Until he tells Arthur he comes face to face with the dragon itself. And the dragon is beating him. He doesn't have any defenses against it. The dragon is breathing fire. His skin is blistering under his armor, he's telling Arthur. Until he makes his way up a rocky hill. And once up there, he formulates the plan to cause an avalanche, which fells the dragon and crushes it to death, thus surviving. But he didn't survive without his own wounds, and he tells Arthur the next he knew, he was waking up at Arthur's keep. All right? So then all the knights are enamored with him, and then, of course, you get the return of Sir Lancelot. And he's a smooth little liar. He quickly enamors Lancelot with by feeding into Lancelot's ego and saying nice things about him, which is all Lancelot needs to hear. Because Lancelot is a little arrogant. The whole time, though, as you saw in that panel, you had Merlin watching him. So over the weeks, he's making his way around the keep. Everyone's becoming enamored with him. Even the Queen Guinevere herself. And then, as he's wandering, seemingly aimlessly, or whatever, you know what I mean. He comes upon the room of Merlin and starts to investigate. He's not far in, and you see, and this is the brilliance of John Buscema. Just look at this one panel, which you can see the scheming and the hints of evil just in his expression and in the shading. It's amazing how well John Buscema can tell a story. There's no wasted panels with Buscema. Everything is feeding the tale. So you see the little hint of evil there, and you see Merlin come in and chastise him. And now Merlin basically tells him he doesn't believe that he found it by accident. And Beliar says, well, you know, I'm a guest of the court. Good graces are wished upon me. You can do no less. And Merlin knows he's trapped because that's King Arthur's word. So he can't take any action. But later that night, while Merlin is entertaining the king and the knights and performing tricks, you have Beliar goading him on to ever greater magical feats. So Merlin conjures a bird and he kind of gets goaded, but well, we saw falcons and this and that today. You can't do anything better than a bird. And Merlin's kind of feeding into it, one, for his ego, but two, he wants to see if he keeps pushing it, what the reactions of Beliar are going to be, and if he'll betray himself. And again, I'm going to lift this up so you can really see his expression and just the cunningness and the craftiness that's in that expression by John Buscema. Just amazing the way he's telling the story with the characters' faces. You know their emotions, you know what they're up to, and then Merlin conjures this great vision, which scares all the knights and Arthur. And of all these beasts and supernatural entities, the only one that's not wowed by it is, of course, Beliar. And Merlin fears that he overplayed his hand a little too much into what Beliar wanted him to do. So then, all of a sudden, you have the knight Peleus, which is drinking next to him, who takes an insult from of his king from Beliar, who whispered it. And Peleus strikes him, but not of his own accord. It's like he was magically made to do it, and something's afoot. So Beliar is starting to show signs of being not who he said he was to Arthur. Arthur can't see it yet. He challenges Peleus to a fight, a duel, and Arthur must accept the conditions because Peleus can't say why he struck him. So the fight begins, and Peleus is just taking it to him. He's the Knight of the Round Table. He's a born fighter. He's a trained fighter. And you see Beliar starts to worry because he is getting soundly trumped. And I probably just made that word up. And you see here, when he starts to use the magics inside him. And all of a sudden, you got Peleus over here stunned to immobility. And he is struck down dead from Beliar. This, Merlin knows, is some most devious magic, but he cannot yet express it. And you see him, Beliar, later running into Queen Guinevere herself, and he whispers into her ear, and something overcomes her. And then the next day at the jousting tournament, as they're getting ready, which is the honor of the knights, you see the round going, joust after joust after joust, and Sir Lancelot is beating everybody soundly and having a fun time with his friends, who are losing to him, and they're giving each other barbs back and forth as friends do. And then he says, "Are there no more that'll face me today?" And then there is me, Lancelot, and you get him right here. You know, someone they don't know. And then Lancelot says, "Very well, Sir Unknown, raise your lance." Because the knight announces himself as an unknown knight. Lancelot takes him on in good humor and in good sport. This is, after all, not meant to hurt or maim anyone. It's all a sport. Until, as Lancelot's getting ready, this knight starts his charge early and takes Lancelot out, not following the rules, and then gets down and tries to kill him. To where Arthur raises up right here and yells, "Enough," and orders the knight to remove his helmet. And this is where the pride of Beliar really got to him, because he played his hand too early. And Arthur is pretty pissed at him for almost killing Lancelot when he cheated and, took a charge at him before they were ready to begin their round, and Lancelot was relaxed. So totally caught off guard. King Arthur accuses him of being a coward, and he banishes him from the court of Camelot, which he was welcome into before. So, but before you know it, over here, you see the handmaiden, Guinevere, run out. That Guinevere is missing. And Merlin wakes up Arthur and says, "Look, I know you may not believe it, but I'm telling you, you have to trust me. He kidnapped her." And Arthur is starting to see the evil scheme, but not all the way. He thinks that Guinevere may have been enamored with him, but he's going to hope not. He's like, nay, he is but a man, Merlin, and Guinevere may indeed be under a spell, but is it a spell of misguided pity? Perhaps even momentary love, though I prefer to believe she has been simply and basely abducted by a common mortal man, nothing more. And so Arthur is still shooting down Merlin, who knows better. And Arthur is good to a fault, wanting to see the best in someone, but it is to a fault when he's not believing what Merlin's got to tell them. So Merlin's saying, look, we're most likely heading into a trap, in which Arthur agrees. And as they approach these great stone pillars, a great wind picks up and assaults them. Again, Merlin is saying it's the work of Beliar, and Arthur is not believing him at all. At least not yet. Alright, once the wind's let up and they start crossing the way they crossed, the bridge soon crumbles and they dismount their horses and run, barely saving their own lives. Alright, and then they enter on the other side once they got free of that, and there's a great dragon there. But Merlin's telling them, the power of this dragon is that you believe in it. He goes, this is base sorcery. He goes, if you don't give power to it and you refuse to believe it, it can't harm you. And going against his gut, he believes Merlin, and Merlin's words turn true, and the dragon fades away. Another test passed by Arthur and Merlin. And then, I'm trying to turn these pages carefully. This book is in great, great shape. And then, once they turn a corner, they come across this dark keep. And they travel upwards and into it. They know they're walking into a trap, but to save Guinevere, they know they have no choice but to enter and face whatever may come. Beautiful, beautiful art. Look at the shades, the shadowing, everything tells the story. Absolutely amazing work by John Buscema and the inkers. Alright, once inside, well, they're almost there. They see Guinevere chained to some rocks. And when Arthur goes to get near there so he can jump towards her, a great wall of fire shoots up from the chasm and blocks his way. Alright, and then that is when they hear the voice, and it's someone evil who says, how can we breach the fires to rescue her? And then they hear the voice, you cannot. The trap is sealed, you are my prisoners in my domain. And it is Beliar's father. But what he truly is the Prince of Evil. So I think their version of Satan, right? Although they don't call him ever Satan, they just call him the Prince of Evil. And his son. And they are there to kill Arthur because he is such a force of good in the world and such a just ruler that he is overbalancing the scales of good and evil. And he is there to make sure that the scales are going to fall more on the evil side than the good. And his whole thing is to stop Arthur's influence before it truly begins and spreads. So he has his son meet Arthur in combat to destroy him, and they want to make it slow and painful. But Arthur has proven too much for his son. This is, after all, a trained knight who became a king, and he is overcoming him. So Beliar's father uses his magic abilities to strengthen Beliar, who starts beating Arthur after that. And then Merlin adds his own strength to Arthur so he can combat it and put him on a fair ground. Then it's just experience against experience and no one having the greater hand. But Arthur falls victim when Merlin loses the War of the Wills between the two sorcerers. And he succumbs, thus leaving Arthur open to the attack of Beliar, who is now more powerful than him. So, he brings Arthur... Oh, yes, okay, there it is. He brings Arthur before his father to destroy him. And his father, the Prince of Lies and, the Prince of Evil, demands that his son bring Guinevere there to perish at Arthur's side. He wants to see their expressions when one of them dies in front of the other. However, they have forgotten about Merlin in this, who had collapsed, and he picks up the sword. So as he goes to confront Arthur, and his son comes up, but his son lops off his head, and things take a weird turn. So you already know where this is going, as did I. Oh, and again, before we turn the page, there was a bit more of the nobility of Arthur, who was saying, look, do what you want with me, damn my soul. He goes, but Guinevere is an innocent who has no hand in this and can't harm you in any way. Just release her. I don't care what you do with me. Still proving his nobility and his goodness up until his very almost end. Now the Prince of Evil, the Prince of Lies, is beheaded. His son, you notice, Merlin turns from his son into himself. He was masquerading as Beliar, and he says that when Beliar went to free Guinevere, he downed him, and he's over here. So Merlin ended up saving the day by downing Beliar and then coming back and beheading the Prince of Evil. And the head is still cackling and laughing. But Merlin has proven his intentions and his good and his value to King Arthur yet again. And the head is still laughing and saying that he'll be back. They'll fight again. Arthur and Guinevere. Guinevere's coming out of her spell now that she's not ensorcelled anymore. And she has no memory of anything since Camelot of what's happened. And Arthur asks if he'll truly be back. And Arthur tells him that an evil like his is too strong to eradicate. That there'll always need to be somebody like Arthur to push it back down in the shadows. And we'll show you the last 2 pages again just because they're beautiful. But really fun story. Really great read. The art is supreme, and it just shows you when John Buscema is completely dialed into a project just how exceptional he is. Tom Palmer and the other guy, John Tartaglione, phenomenal job inking him. And John Costanza, whose lettering is so elegant and really helps you feel like you're in that time period. It's not distracting. It's not hard to read. You do notice it, but in a way you're supposed to notice lettering. In a way that complements a story and draws you more into the story, which helps put you in the setting of the time that the story takes place. Overall, this is a really, really exceptional read. With everyone at their best telling this tale. And wow, this was my first time reading it, and it was just an absolute joy to go through. Just some John Buscema goodness I didn't know was out there. And of course, I forgot to mention Doug Moench, and who came in and co-scripted this with John Buscema. So it wasn't just a John Buscema story. Doug Moench came in and helped out and did a lot with them. They worked together, pounded out what they needed, where they were going, and how they were going to end. And wow, what a tale. Anyway, conclusion, A++, art, A++, cover art, extraordinary, because it's Earl Norham, and wow. But that's it for this week, guys. Savage Saturday 70 is in the books. I hope you enjoyed this Merlin story. I know I did. I hope you enjoyed the art. My God, that is a beautiful book and so well written. Until next time, keep it casual.